of the board members, Dr. Pace and the staff. Y'all are really professional. You really are. To hold your patience and comments I'm sure you'd like to make, probably. I am very disgusted by the actions of one of the board members. It's criminal. And I would like to ask the board superintendent, I'm sorry, but I want you to send the complaint where Mr. Arguello was found guilty to the governor and to the FDLE. It's embarrassing that these meetings are continually harassment. They're detrimental to progress in our education system. We're making no progress here. They're hostile. There'll be retaliation from him and other people tomorrow on Facebook, etc. It's not going to end. And it's not doing anything any good for my children. And I'm also tired of you and other people that come here thinking that you know what's best for my children, and I don't. I've never dragged one of my kids through the house by the hair of their head. I got this.
St. Cloud. A lot of you know that I'm not a politician, nor do I like speaking in front of everybody. But what I do like is helping the kids of Osceola County. We were recognized for Partners of Education this last breakfast for Horizon Middle School. We have received another recognition in the past from Reedy Creek, in spite of everything that's been going on. As you stated before, Mr. Arguello, Gunster is a great law firm. They have found you significant evidence that you were in violation of School Board 2.70. Great. I have this here. I don't know where it goes now. I'm asking for the board to direct it to someone else that maybe can do something about it, because previously it was stated that a piece of paper isn't going to stop him. So this is not going to stop him. It continues to this day, as it's stated in the investigation. I'm not trying to, back and forth, why, whatever. We give the school 110% of everything. We do back to school, we do Christmas, we do a lot of events, we do literacy, which is very important. We go through our literacy books, make sure there's nothing foul in them as well, and even though they're at public events. So I just ask you to forward this to the proper channels. If you could dismiss them, that would be great. I know everybody will hackle in the background, but I gave everybody else the opportunity. What's unprofessional is that we continue to come here. I continue to get harassed personally, online, in here with little jabs that Mr. Arguello will say against me personally. That's fine. I'm a big girl. But when it starts affecting an organization, that's when I have a problem. There was nothing that was brought to light that said that we did anything wrong, except for false accusations verbally. Never like, hey, here's the contract they've been receiving. He just stated it. Well, there was nothing found, and I asked you guys to forward this on to the governor, to FDLE, to whoever else will listen and possibly will get something done so we can continue to work for the kids of Osceola County. I appreciate you for your time.
I hope that you all have had the opportunity to read the investigative report that even Mr. Arguello says was done by a great law firm, I think it was, and over 1,000 pages of evidence, okay, and testimony of folks that were, sworn depositions, okay? And this is all evidence of Mr. Arguello's harassment of me and our organization. In fact, you all have witnessed the unwarranted attacks firsthand during board meetings. It is not just my opinion that Mr. Arguello has violated your rules, the school board rules. This was the finding of this independent investigator that was hired. I'll quote from the report. Mr. Arguello has engaged in a course of conduct designed to denigrate Mr. Kalish, a perceived political adversary, on the basis of his political beliefs. This course of conduct had the purpose and effect of interfering with Mr. Kalish's work as a business partner for the Osceola School District and elsewhere. On the bottom of page 7, the report, you'll see that the investigator points out federal and Florida criminal statutes that Mr. Arguello may have violated in his harassment campaign of me and our organization. The report also mentions 2 teachers who have reported misconduct by Mr. Arguello to school board members. I can understand why they have not filed an official complaint, because being the victim of Mr. Arguello's retaliation is no picnic. I'm not the first person Mr. Arguello has harassed, but I'd like to be the last. The school board needs to take a hard line to put an end to Mr. Arguello's repeated misconduct. To see justice served, I make the following request. I request that the school board vote to reprimand Mr. Arguello for his misconduct. I request the school board send the summary of the investigation and evidence to the sheriff, FDLE, and the state attorney. I request the school board to direct the school board attorney to investigate the complaints made by teachers to school board members in confidence while protecting their identity from Mr. Arguello. And I heard that this investigation and the evidence is going to be sent to the governor already, but I request that this all be sent to the governor. I respectfully ask you to take these steps to limit Mr. Arguello from harming anyone else. You know, 1,000 pages of evidence, folks, okay? And I heard somebody mention, Mr. Arguello mention mediocre.
Thank you, Mr. Kalish. I appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Arguello, you have some comments?
I do. So, there were many parents, not one, not two parents, not too many, okay, that sent me complaints about having Mr. Kalish's organization in the school district. I sent an email to the superintendent. She just outlining what they were. What she responded to me, this is on August 5th of 2021, in response to your questions regarding the donation of a bus to Mr. Jon Kalish, attached, please find documents from the May 7th school board meeting where the school board approved the donation in response to a request letter. Mr. Kalish has not been in district employment, nor has he registered as a vendor with the district, nor has he registered as a vendor of the district. Thus, he was not fingerprinted by SDOT. Mr. Kalish completed an OASIS volunteer application on 10/22/2019, which expired on May 31st, 2020. At that time, the background check submitted to Janus Investigations reported no findings, and Mr. Kalish did not appear on the sex offender database. I asked my assistant to search court records this week, and 3 felony cases are in Orange County Clerk of Courts database dated 1986, 88, and 89, theft and forgery. The disposition of those cases is not identified on Orange County Clerk of Court records. We are following up with Janus Investigations to identify how these cases were not identified in their background check from 2019. We have also confirmed that Mr. Kalish has no record of volunteer hours, again, no record of volunteer hours at the schools where he was registered to volunteer. East Lake, Hickory, Neptune, Reedy Creek, Ventura. For the 2019-2020 year, and his volunteer status has been inactive since that time. We are making a note in the volunteer file of the additional information we've uncovered, so a request to renew his OASIS volunteer status will be denied. That was an email from the superintendent when all this began, okay? So here's the problem with this investigation, okay? They are conflating 2 issues, okay? For me, my issues privately are my issues privately. My issues here are my issues here, okay? But sometimes they merge in this respect. Mr. Kalish's wife, the lady who just spoke recently, called me after 10 o'clock in the evening, apparently impaired, in my opinion, based on the conversation that I had, after 10 o'clock at night on 2 occasions. She was asking what my problem was. I'm not going to talk to her about the school district business in that fashion or at that opportunity. So I said, one of the issues I have is why you're attacking the museum, the veteran museum, okay? It had nothing to do with school district business. However, what they're doing now is saying that that conversation is the reason that I'm fighting against them because of what they have to do with the museum or their position on the museum against the museum. Okay, whatever. One thing has nothing to do with the other, okay? But in this case, because this is a political thing, then they can conflate the two and they can make whatever finding they want. But 1,000 pages, he's saying, of evidence, probably the majority of those 1,000 pages are evidence that I submitted with Mr. Kalish harassing me. Mr. Kalish, do you operate through Osceola politics? Do you operate through Osceola politics? Yes, you are. You're allowed to answer.
According to who?
Yes.
If it's affecting them, I would say let him speak. I mean, let him at least.
So we're on trial now, apparently.
Do you operate the true Osceola politics page?
So my question is, Mr. Arguello, since we want to do back and forth like this.
We're not. I'm just asking you the one question.
And I just want to make a statement here, since you want to cross-examine, okay?
I'm not cross-examining. I'm just asking a question.
You are absolutely cross-examining here. You're asking me a question. So here's a statement.
Sir, this is a public
okay?
meeting.
No, I
Are
understand
you
it's a public-
operating through
No, I
Osceola
don't
politics?
operate
Okay, thank
anything,
you very
sir.
much. That's all.
Okay.
So now let me read my. Let me read. Madam
investigation-
Chair, are you going to take control of the meeting or no?
Well, you wanted
Okay,
him
thank
to
you.
answer, and so
And
he
he did,
did,
okay.
which is exactly why I didn't
So my
want that to
defenses
happen.
are as follows.
That's why.
The school board has no jurisdiction over this complaint, as acting out of community concerns for having a felon on campus falls within the oversight duties of my elected position. See Osceola County School Board Policy 2.70 IC. The complaint is lacking merit of any kind. See attached emails highlighting the fact that the community does not want Batman, quote unquote, a convicted felon with weapon-related charges on campus. I received complaints from the community, again, stating that they were uncomfortable with the relationship the district has with Mr. Kalish's organization. It appears evident that he is allowed to remain on campus solely because of his special relationship with the district lobbyist, possibly the superintendent. Now, I think we all know the district lobbyist that I'm referring to. Mr. Horner and Mr. Kalish. Mr. Kalish acts as a surrogate, in my opinion, for Mr. Horner. That's the only reason why this organization would be allowed to operate on our campus, okay? And that's what I'm trying to end. So, of course, they're going to use their power and their influence to go ahead and make this big accusation. The fact is, if Mr. Kalish had no relationship with anybody on the district, and Mr. Melendez, or God forbid, Teresa Castillo said, you know what, that guy is a felon, why is he on our campuses? He wouldn't be allowed anywhere near our school district. But if that person had a relationship with our lobbyist, or he had a relationship with our superintendent, he'd be on campus like this, okay? That's the problem here. So if you guys are going to do an investigation, okay, then that's where we should begin. Why is it, when people are talking about the stuff that's going on with their kids, why is it that some people are allowed to have one outcome while others are not? There are parents who are not allowed to be on campus today because of whatever mistakes they've made in the past. Well, here, we're allowed anybody on campus as long as you're friends with the right people. So let me finish by doing this. In their conclusion, okay, let me talk to you about what a great investigation that the taxpayers get. Although we have not reviewed social media posts relating to the Veterans Museum incident, we find it likely Mr. Arguello's opposition to Mr. Kalish was fueled by discussions about the incident. They had not reviewed any of the social media incidents, but they're finding me guilty based on the fact that they think that they exist out there, okay? We also find it likely that Mr. Arguello first became aware of Mr. Kalish's background because of muckraking on these forums. We find it likely Is that the investigation quality that we're looking for here? You are talking about, now, for political reasons, again, what the board majority wants to do is to have an elected official removed from office based on the speculation that there might be some social media post that says something, okay? And they're happy to do it. Why? Because they're embarrassed. That's the only reason. They're embarrassed. They're embarrassed of being exposed for the people they are, for the people of the community. That's what this is about. And you know what? I understand you being embarrassed. I would be embarrassed too if I came here and I had the conflicts of interest that the board has, and if I had the issues that the board has, I would be horrendously embarrassed. I would be embarrassed to the depths of who knows where.
I apologize to the public to have to endure these issues. You know, I've been focusing on trying to go to transportation department, solve things and issues with this district involving kids. This does not have to deal with that. And I just want a motion to close this and put this behind us, because obviously it's been censured before and he continues to do what he feels is right in his heart of hearts. So at this point, you know, is there some concerns that Mr. Kalish's organization has been damaged by that? No, I believe so. And there's a remedy in a court of civil law that if he feels that he's financially damaged, to do that venue. I don't like the school board being a venue for being people's grievances to air them out. And so I think we need to focus back our attention on the kids. And so with that, I motion to close the investigation for 1805.
I second.
Have a motion by Mr. Melendez to close the investigation, a second by Mr. Arguello. Board,
I have some discussion, question on that. I believe it's Mr. Arguello, or was somebody earlier, it wasn't Mr. Arguello, I apologize, not you. It was somebody who spoke. About following the rules. The rules say if there is a finding, it should be submitted to the governor's office. At the very minimum, I believe this needs to be submitted to the governor's office. Mr. Melendez, unless that was your, when you say closure, if that's your,
I meant to close it completely.
I'll be voting no on it.
The rules state that we have to.
The rules say we have to. I think we follow our rules.
so let's
We're not-
let's go
Can we get a
ahead.
reading of that
The
rule?
understanding of the rule was that if a finding is found, it is to be sent to the governor by the board. You did that with the Mr. Horner investigation, I believe, because of that rule. But Natalie, if you would, or Dr. Pace could pull it up real quick.
Well, it's actually in
I
our
will make
packet.
a motion to censor for violation of School Board Rule 2.7 and submit the report to the governor's office as required by our school board rule.
Have a motion by Mr. Thacker,
Second.
second by Mr. Bass.
Discussion, Madam Chair.
Can we vote on this and then discuss?
Okay, we
Is
can
this,
vote.
is this material for you to vote? I mean, it doesn't matter what you vote, I'm just asking.
Okay. Yeah, it's not,
Okay, go ahead with your discussion.
yeah, I was gonna say, and the reason why I'm not gonna vote in favor of this motion, because I'm a letter of the law type person too. I don't believe the finding was sufficient in this specific case, because it says School Board Rule 2.7 was not just the act of harassment, but it's act of harassment based on race, color, religion, gender, age, marital status, disability, political beliefs. And kind of like how Mr. Arguello said, political beliefs, I'm not exactly sure is pertinent in this case. His views on a museum, like what you mentioned, the lawyer had looked at it and didn't read the emails. Didn't read the social media posts. So to me, it's not enough weight for me to make that determination, even though the lawyers made that case.
Okay.
Me looking at that
call the
doesn't
question.
make it,
Sure, that's fine.
I don't see there was a violation of 2.7.
All right, so no problem. I have a motion by Thacker, second by Bass. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-2. Thank you.